Hey, Parrish here. I'm doing another video. If you like these, please like it on YouTube. Subscribe to my channel too, please. Today's topic, let me grab it. Why draw in a parent field into a child record? Now, my last video, I was talking about conditional rules and using text formulas or other things to draw in values natively because there's some cases where you want that to happen. So I thought I'd explain that a little more. This won't be long. I'm just going to give a few examples, but let's go for it. Thanks. Okay, here's the lowdown. Let's get this started. I'm just going to talk about some examples. What you're looking at here, let me make myself smaller. It's the back end, but it's an invoicing system. So here up top, we have information about the invoice. And if you know anything about invoices, I have a video on that too. What you're going to do is to an invoice, you're going to add a line item. And then each of these are expense items, and the expense is billed against something. But I'm going to give you an example here. You may have a date related or a status related to the invoice overall. And there's lots of cases where you want that date and that status to also apply to the line items itself. Now, you can make a view when you're building all your pages and draw it in from the parent, but there's a number of times, and I'm going to give an example. Sometimes in these invoicing things, we do a view that is all expense line items, and they may be grouped by invoice, but we want the date to, we have to start with a table of line items. So here's the deal with date. And any table, if we wanted to sort those by date, like through source and through sort, this sort function only uses native fields. So if we wanted to sort them by the line item, not by the invoice, we would want to go use, we could use an equation field, put it natively into, meaning over here, when we're at line items, we could draw it in and say whatever the invoice's date is, make the line item's date that too. So it's always going to be whatever it is. I'm going to give you another example back to this page. Something else could happen too. If we edit, have the ability to edit the invoice, and we want to change a date on that, if it's connected through an equation, that will automatically apply to all the child line item records. So you don't have to make a bunch of record rules to capture things. I'm going to give you another example. In this case with invoices, the invoice has a status, invoice status. So let's just say it's paid or not paid or under whatever they are. Here's another typical one where whatever the invoice, overall invoice's status, you want to have a matching field down here that is connected to it via likely a text formula. So there might be several line items for one invoice, will always have the same status as whatever you've set the invoice. So you set the status once to allow it's paid, let's say. You don't have to do it through record rules. You could, but it's more tedious building out. If you make every line item like this, and then here's what the deal with status is. On a lot of these things, once it is at some status, let's say it's just under review. There's draft, it's submitted for review, and it's paid. Once it's submitted, you do not want them making changes to an invoice that you're now reviewing, because it doesn't make sense. Here's what I got. Let's see how we're going to review it. They can't be changing it mid. So whoever's making these invoices, you want it to not be able to change it. So if you draw in the status natively, I'm going to give you this. Edit. When you edit a particular field, it has something called display rules. And in this example, if the payment status is paid, hide the value means it's going to hide edit. So they no longer are able to edit it. And you could do the same thing with the ability to delete here. A similar type of thing where you're making some value in the parent record that applies to all the child records, because these display rules only use stuff that's native. So you want to get it down. If you're the parent, you want to get it down as easily and consistently as possible into the child record without you having to do a bunch of stuff. And another thing too is, let's go to, let me find it here. No, let's just do an edit form. This isn't a specific thing. Emails. When you have emails, when you want to select fields to put in here, they only allow you to have native fields. You don't see any connection stuff here. So depending on the use case, I'm not even going to give an example. If you have a piece of content that you want in the email, this could be done here or through tasks, the two places you do emails. You want to draw it in natively. So again, I have videos on that, but you're either going to you're going to put the field first into the child record. Let's just say this is line items. You're going to put the field in here. You can either do it through a text formula, depending on what it is, or an equation that just grabs a value, and they're going to only let you get certain things. The equation's not going to let you get a text. Or you can create record rules, which is a little more tedious, but sometimes you might want to do that. That's what I got. These are real typical things that I always use to draw in natively, and I'm sure there's a bunch of others. And native, when I say that, means it exists here on its own. It's not something you can go grab in the table itself. It exists. It doesn't. It's not on a pages side where I can go grab a parent value, or I can do it the other way around too, and just drop it in, and then it works when you're looking at your app. But there's cases where it has to be present, and this is what I'm talking about with this video. That's what I got today. Thanks.